cull your ewes that are showing signs of not being either resilient or resistant to barber pole worm. And you can do that with fecal weight counts. The shorter way, and it's just as effective, I think, is use your FOMACHA scoring. Score your ewes at weaning and about 3 or 4 weeks after weaning, and compare the two. If they go down, like if they're at a 2 and they go down to a 4, boy, something's wrong with that animal. She's not demonstrating any resilience at all. So as soon as her number comes up for some other reason, get rid of her. Be hard. Yeah. But remember, if you keep that ewe that's a score 4 at any time during the lactation out on the pasture, she's shedding a lot of eggs that you don't want out there. You know, just because she's got so many worms in her. You know, and so you got to ask yourself the question: do I really, really need Betsy Lou next year? The other thing is on your sire side. On your ewe lamb replacement side, keep lambs that are 1 and 2, score 1 and 2 for you during the year on a FOMACHA score. Okay, they're demonstrating to you that on your place they can handle it. Don't keep 4s and 5s for sure. Don't keep those two replacements.
They sidle up to you and rub against
you. You bet. Even if they're out of your best ewe. If you're selecting for parasites, even if they're out of your best ewe, think twice. Okay, so if you're doing fecal egg counts, do your fecal egg count on, set a pool up so that of prospective ewe lambs that you might want to have be replacements. Set that pool up so you're reducing the number that you're going to have to do fecal egg counts right off the bat, probably by a half anyway. And so do fecal egg counts at weaning and then 2 to 3 weeks post weaning. And if you get, like if at weaning they're at, say, 1,000 or 1,200 count eggs per gram, and 2 or 3 weeks after they're at 3,000, that's telling you they can't hack it. They cannot hack that parasite challenge. So don't include them if you're selecting for parasites. I just want to mention here, all this has gone through in that tip sheet that you have on simple grazing selection strategies. And the one thing that you have to remember is if you don't have enough parasite challenge out there, you can't select for anything. Okay, so the standard rule of thumb is if you don't have 500 eggs per gram in your fecal egg counts as an average, you're wasting your time selecting on that because you don't have a problem basically. But if you've got 1,000 eggs per gram on an average, you can do some selecting. And if you go back to your college genetic class, what was the thing that influenced selection the greatest? It's where you have a huge difference between what's really good and what's really bad. And fecal egg counts give that to you. You can have a difference. I mean, one animal that has maybe 1,000 eggs per gram and one animal on the other end there that has 10,000, you get that animal out of the way, you've just hugely selected against parasites. FOMACHA scoring, you don't have that range quite so much, so it's a little bit of a not quite as good. But in my opinion, it's academic. Because what I have to go through, in our flock to fecal egg counts, 80 ewes, lamb replacement, prospective replacements, do 80 fecal counts on them, and then 3 weeks later, do 80 more. We just can't do that. But I can FOMACHA score them in a few hours. So that's why FOMACHA scoring is so much handier. And I'm trying to convince you today is it's really a neat way to do it. Okay, next slide. Okay, same way on selecting replacing dams. That ewe has a 4 at any time of the season. She's out of our program. I don't care if she raises great lambs. She had to do it because we dewormed her. So she may not be out of our program the next year, but she's on the list. If she does anything wrong, out she goes to Mexico. Yeah.
What if her ewe are 1 or 2?
Well, problem is, they're probably going to be 1 or too because she was such a good milker. You know, they had that nutrition. You put stress on them as milking ewes, then they're going to fall apart on it. Chances are, not always, but this game is just a game of percentages, right? So it just depends on how much stress, how much emphasis you want to put on parasite control. And okay, one other thing, Katahdin and Polypay breeds now have EBVs for parasites. If you're going to do your breed some good, holler at your board of directors to start getting on an EBV program with the NSIP. Start collecting data. They're never going to do it unless you as producers force them. It's a huge tool because after 4 generations, I think it's half of the genetics in your flock is determined by the sire. All right, we went through this, the 5 points that you always should look at on a ewe or a goat or lamb. Their eyes, their back, their poo problem, their jaw, bottleneck, and their nose. And I would add into that how they react to you. If their ears are looking at you and their eyes are looking at you, everything's hunky-dory. If they're not, there's a problem there. And if you don't do anything about it, when you come back a little bit later, a week or 2 later, the ears are going to be down and there's a real problem there. So, okay. We've had lots of questions and I really thank you.
I have one more.
Yeah.
I don't think you've answered this. Are there certain breeds of sheep that are more prone to getting barber pole worms?
Yes, there are.
And what are they?
Well, they don't like to talk to you about that. Because that pits different sheepmen against different sheepmen. But your Katahdins, the hair sheep, Katahdins, are probably the most resistant to parasites. Resistant to parasites. Yeah. As a breed. Having said that, you can go into any particular Katahdin flock and you can get huge variations in that degree of resistance. In fact, there's Katahdin flocks that are terrible at resisting parasites. But as a breed, they are the most resistant of any sheep